We'll get back to movies, but let's talk a little bit about the work. I know a lot of you sent in questions that you want to ask Richard Gere about AIDS and his work here. About 200 of you did. So, the young lady in the brown jacket, brown sweater.
India is a vast country with an ever-growing population, and AIDS is now becoming a major concern. And the major place of AIDS being the grassroots level, the masses. What program or plan can be carried out in our country in a population that like this, which is mostly illiterate and ever-growing?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question coming from this group, because it's a very young group here. This is a group that's interested in sex, no? And that's the main course of transmission, is through sex. This is something you have to know about in this world. We had a kind of amazing media summit at the residence of the Prime Minister, who, I'm going to digress a little bit here, but I heard him speak in New York, I think about 3 months ago, and there was a question about AIDS, which was the first question that was asked, and he went into some detail about the fact that perhaps there had been a downplaying of the reality of the AIDS situation here. And he said this is something that under his administration it would be dealt with in a very realistic and a very passionate way. And I turned to a friend I was with there and I said, he probably saved 2 or 3 million lives just by making that statement. Because it's the first time a leader of this country has done that. And did it before the election, has done it after, has made it a priority. When we asked him several months ago to convene this media summit at his residence, he immediately said yes, cleared his schedule, and every media head came there for this event yesterday. And part of the discussion was how can you make this kind of communication to people? And from my own experience, this is an area that I've been working in for over 20 years. The AIDS pandemic started in America in 1981, and I was losing friends immediately. And even more recently, 2 years ago, a very, very close friend of mine died. He'd been sick for, 18 years or so. It's still very raw for me, this experience. About 5 years ago, I looked around my world and I said to myself, India doesn't know what's going to happen to it. They haven't been told, there hasn't been leadership here. There's been a sense of denial and an inability to talk about sex, frankly, which is the prime mode of transmission of this horrible disease. So my first approach was to my community here, was to the actors, dancers, writers, musicians, etc. And we started creating some events just to talk about it. And there was some media that came out of that, but it wasn't systematic and it wasn't programmatic. And you can't do anything like this without having vast partnerships throughout all sectors. So the media is the quickest way and the most effective way, I think, of doing this. With the leadership of government and the vast resources of government and the reach of government to go to all of the difficult and diverse places in this wonderful country, you can't do it without government, impossible. And you can't do it without media, but you can't do it with one media. You can't do it with just NDTV. You have to talk to all the vast different groups in the vast different languages. Right. So we had about 30 CEO heads from all over the country came and pledged to do systematic work. Star TV has pledged 3 years of work. And it's systematic, again, kind of work, embedding in programming, embedding into stories, as well as showing PSAs, but taking it seriously as a creative problem to deal with, and not just, usually these kind of things there's scare tactics of, we're going to scare you with a PSA about how horrible this disease is and this problem, and it's been well proven that that's the least effective way to reach people. So we've actually started generating some PSAs that are very funny. They're sexy, they're funny, they're charming, and they have a cute ending to them.
Are you in them?
Do you want me to be in them?
Actually, one thing worried me about that question. The young girl said, it's basically the masses. It's like it doesn't affect us, it's others.
But I think this group knows that it does affect them.
You didn't mean that.
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I can feel that. Does this group here feel that it does affect you? Yes. Yeah. Have you had friends yet who've gotten sick? No. Is there anyone here that's had a friend who's died? Anybody?
You have?
Yeah.
The same, the person.
Yeah,
And you have
several
AIDS as
here.
well?
It's okay, I have. Several. Okay,
AIDS.
Not of AIDS.
Oh, you've had of AIDS?
This is a big problem because in America, it very quickly got to the point where almost everyone had a friend. Some distant, some close, whatever, but it touched you in some way. And this is a big problem in this country, is that people, either it hasn't really touched them, or they are in denial about it. And I find both of those are true. People who have told me that, no, I don't know anyone, someone will come up later and say, we all know their best friend is sick right now, but they don't talk about it. And that's a big problem in this country, just literally not talking about it. Talking about it, trading information, mainstreaming the whole idea of this pandemic, what the realities are. I hate to say this, but probably if I gave a quiz now about what AIDS is, most of the people in this room would fail it. There are a lot of misconceptions.
Try one or two questions.
Can you get AIDS from kissing? No. You're sure about that? Yes. Great.